Hi, Jeremy Cordeaux in the Court of Public Opinion. I'm just on air here to let you know that we'll be live streaming the Court of Public Opinion every Friday between 9 o'clock and 12 on jeremycordeaux.com. Please join us. We'd love to have you.
Wavelength.
Mental illness doesn't have to be a life sentence.
Alcohol addiction, abuse, misuse is the same all over the globe.
Sparking the combos about Adelaide.
So it made me feel very confident that if we did have it in the state, we were going to know about it.
You should be having...
There'll be guys that are trained, but they don't feel like they're good enough to take their shirt off.
Almost everyone is a culprit of doom scrolling. Anyone who has a mobile phone.
On Fresh 92.7.
Welcome to Wavelength, Sparking the Convos about Adelaide. You should be having. I'm your host, David, and tonight I am joined by Jamie. It's been a while, mate.
It has been a while.
Been
now,
a
can I
while.
just say, you look amazing. You're glowing. And that's because you got your braces off.
I know, now you can, I can go on the radio now and not have a lisp, which is, like, I've been waiting for this moment for a few years now.
I can't stop looking at your teeth. Like, it looks great. Like, I remember getting mine off when I was probably like 14, 15. And just like having, like, I just grinned for like 2 weeks straight. Like, I just don't think I moved my mouth from the smiling position for so long.
I'm obsessed. I can't stop looking
I'm
at myself.
obsessed as well. Yeah, we've got to. You know what? Vanity is key sometimes.
It's
in this
brought
day
me
and
to
age.
life. And, I mean, it's the second time I've had them off. I had them when I was a kid and again as an adult, and now I'm free.
You're free.
I'm free.
You're free and you look great.
Thank you.
Oh, how was your weekend?
Look, we're not going into that. How was yours?
My weekend was good. I had a weekend full of like birthdays and like just going out doing stuff. Saw Illuminate.
Beautiful.
Yeah, Illuminate's still on for a couple of weeks.
Yeah, I saw that last week. Amazing.
It's amazing. For anyone that hasn't seen it, go see Light Cycles, like this art installation in the Botanic
100%.
Gardens. It is so cool.
Extremely cool.
So cool. And I just love that we can even go to the festival right now. Like, I'm enjoying it while we can.
And it's not the only strange thing going on in Adelaide at the moment. There was something you saw last week, Jamie. I saw on your Instagram story.
Yeah. Okay. So last
What?
week, I was walking like on Pulteney Street where HJ's is in the corner. And I see this big black truck with this big screen on the side. And like on the screen, it projects like this room full of guys. And I thought that these dudes were like sitting in the truck. So I walked up to the truck, like full scoping it out, like sussed it, tried to open the truck. Was like, why are these dudes like locked in the truck? Like, is this like a ransom thing? Like,
Let them
what?
out.
Let them out, free them. Like, no idea who they are. And then I was like, that's so weird. What is this? And then posted something. I was like, does anyone know who this is? Like, went to have a drink with some mates. Came back an hour later and it was gone. But it turns out that it's the promotion of Kanye West's new album, Donda.
The promo going off in Adelaide.
Like why Adelaide? And I think it's because, like, they couldn't do it in Sydney or Melbourne or like most of the other cities around Australia
Brisbane
because they're all locked down. So they're like, Adelaide will do.
Adelaide will do.
And then they just parked at the front of HA's for an hour. Like, it was so rogue.
What a strange promotional activity.
Yeah, look, I'll give it to Kanye. He's crazy, but he's a genius. He's a crazy genius.
That's his whole thing, and you can't hate him for it.
I think he could make anyone famous. I would like to be taken under Kanye's wing, and I would like
He would make you famous.
Kanye, if you're out there, pick me
Come
up.
on.
I'm free. I've not got an agent at the moment.
Kanye, come on Wavelength.
Come on.
Can we interview you?
Next week on Wavelength.
Oh my gosh.
Kanye West
Why
giving
did-
us his Kanye best.
I just want to ask him why Adelaide. I mean, we love Adelaide, but
We do love Adelaide.
it's strange that he
I wonder if
left
the
us.
trucks were all around Australia. Like, I wonder if he
But
dropped
they didn't
a few...
get deployed because of lockdowns.
Yeah,
probably.
like I wonder if
Yeah.
there's this huge scheme. Like, I wonder where else in the world they were, because I feel like a lot of places still are very much in lockdown.
I mean, a quick Google says Montreal had one.
Of course, Montreal, it's the coolest city in the world. I've said it before. I'll
Is
say
it?
it again. Yeah, I lived there for a year.
Oh.
It was insane. It was amazing.
I've heard very good things. Did you get to speak any French?
A petit peu, a little bit. I did French lessons while I was over there. That's the only word I know. That's my flex. I did French lessons for a little bit. Got kind of good. Like, got quite good. And then as soon as I moved back here, lost it all.
I love this.
Like, I'm dating a French man now and I've got nothing.
Yeah, you are.
Mr.
I mean, I love this tangent that we've gone on. Kanye West has brought us to your French boyfriend.
And
that's how it always is with us.
Literally, that's literally it. Oh, should we get on to Wavelength?
Let's do it.
Tonight on Wavelength, we're essentially going to let you know how long this COVID hell is going to last. I'm sick of it. You're sick of it. We're all kind of sick of it. So what's it going to take to escape this endless lockdown mess?
But next, we're speaking with one of our favourite producers here at Fresh, Motez, about something very close to his heart. Not one to miss. You're listening to Fresh.
Wavelength.
Welcome back to Wavelength, sparking the convos about Adelaide you should be having. We hope you're having a brilliant Monday. So, Jamie, you sat down with Motez for a little chat this week, and it had nothing to do with his latest EP.
It had nothing to do with his latest album drop. No. It was actually about the live music industry, and he had he's a really articulate man, very smart man. And he had a lot to say about what it's like working in the music industry and the lack of support from the government.
He's been a big proponent for, I guess, supporting the arts industry through this COVID mess.
Totally.
And I mean, I'm super excited to hear this chat.
Yeah, it was actually, I really enjoyed this chat. It was really great. And he makes a lot of good points. And I just feel like fair enough coming from him. And he's vocalizing what a lot of people in the live music industry and the festival and events industry feels, you know.
There's a lot of frustration going around at the moment, but let's have a listen to your interview with Motez.
Wavelength. Sparking the convos about Adelaide you should be having.
Today we have a pretty special guest in the studio, and it is the extremely well-established and overwhelmingly talented music producer Motez.
Hello.
So I've brought you into the studio with me because of an Instagram story that you shared a few days ago, and it really caught my attention. It's about the showdown match that happened over the weekend at Adelaide Oval. So Stephen Marshall and SA Health allowed the event to go ahead, but instead of doing what the Olympics are doing, where there were no spectators in the grandstands allowed, Stephen Marshall allowed 15,000 people to attend. Yet, we can't dance, we can't sing, and live music events aren't allowed.
I think it's the thing that was really concerning for me is this sort of imbalance, the jarring message, the kind of sports feels like it's getting a special treatment in comparison with other things. I think for me, the most important thing was the clash in the message. Having 15,000 people in a stadium, albeit with social, distancing measures, as we have seen countless times, it's happened in the past when football sports are allowed first thing, much to the detriment of our sector. Sports are allowed in, and there's so many videos that surface that you can see that people are literally piling on top of each other to get into the stadium. On the way there, people are close enough that it would warrant for most people with common sense and logic to look at it and go, why is this happening? And so many other aspects of our life, including music, entertainment, arts, that are in context of our city, in context of our state, are very vital, are very important. They bring a lot of money. There were reports generated for the Music Development Office, which is the government arm that looks after music in South Australia, also echoed by companies like Deloitte, talking about the importance of music, hundreds of millions of dollars that brings to the state. Why is the football allowed to happen with 15,000 people? And as you said at the start, the Olympics are a perfect example. There's no spectators there. The English Premier League, I'm a soccer fan. I love sports. But you look at the English Premier League, all of last season, there is no spectators. It just shows that there is some sort of imbalance. There is a weird clash in the messaging. So that's why myself and a lot of other musicians, and I'm not only talking about musicians, I'm talking about event organizers, I'm talking about promoters, I'm talking about people that work in theatre, people that work in film industry. Like Sala is happening as we speak, and they probably have had a lot of compromise in the way they deliver their product, in the way they're presented. It's just such a shame, and that's the reason why I went on that rant, is because what is the reason? I would like someone to give us a reason why this keeps happening. It's
quite hypocritical and contradictory, don't you think?
Yeah.
As someone in the music industry, what kind of support are you looking for from our government?
I think consistent messaging. I think explanation sometimes why this keeps happening and why there's preferential treatment with sports. And I think if you are going to completely abandon live entertainment, then some sort of a level of support. One thing that really kind of hit a nerve for me was there's no communication with us. And I understand probably because there's so many facets to it, there is a way that we can have messaging, communication. So people that put on events and own venues and run venues would know what is going on. Because this is unlike big sporting organizations like the AFL. They don't have any support. There is zero support. And as you mentioned, it can be done safely. If they came out and said there's no sporting events, we wouldn't have been having this conversation, because there's consistency. I think one thing that a friend of mine told me that they kind of didn't realise is that the signalling, what does that signal for events like the Showdown with 15,000 people to happen? What does that signal to us that this is our livelihood? This is, as I said, there's people that put their lives on the line, money, people that are going bankrupt because of this.
So, Motez, what would you suggest is the best thing that people can do to support these industries right now?
I think whenever it comes back, please go to live events, support live events, buy tickets, stream South Australian artists or Australian artists for that matter, and share the message that, talk to your friends and talk to people, share the message to say that it's a bit unfair what's happening to music in South Australia.
Wavelength.
That was Jamie chatting with Motez, the local Adelaide producer, about the hypocrisy of Adelaide's COVID rules. And yeah, really, really great interview. Thank you so much for that, Jamie.
Yeah, he made some good points. And I think it is just about consistency from our government, really, because if you look at all of the events in general, they should all kind of be under the same blanket.
Yeah, right.
So it's not really fair that 15,000 people can go watch a sports game, but we still can't have live music with the same protocols.
But if it is safe to have 15,000 people at the footy, which apparently it is, otherwise they wouldn't do it, then why not the other things?
Yeah.
It's
hypocritical.
Rules
really.
for the AFL, no rules for the arts. I mean, I was just looking at the I Lost My Gig Australia, which is a body that's been sort of surveying artists around the country to see how much money has been lost through these lockdowns, through these cancellations.
Totally.
Do you want to have a guess how much money?
I've no idea.
Ballpark.
Millions?
Oh, yeah.
10 million.
Way off.
50 million.
Way off.
100 million?
No, you're too high.
Damn it.
$84 million in lost income.
Wow.
Through these last, it's not a small industry. People don't.
It's a huge
the arts
industry.
is huge. And these people have really lost a lot in this last year and a bit.
Yeah. I think also if the government's going to slap on a label like the festival state on us, right? Then we kind of encapsulate that and we do that and then they take it away. That's kind of contradictory too. It's like they bring all this hype for it, but then don't actually give us support when the time comes.
In saying that, it is sick though that the illuminate lights thing in the
absolutely,
that is sick. And
that is sick.
And I do, if you want to go out and support the arts in Adelaide, go see that.
Please go and support. That's the most important thing you can be doing right now, right?
Because we want to keep seeing these big winter festivals like Illuminate happen next year, hopefully without any restrictions, and we can have music, dancing, and stuff like that. But 15,000 at the footy over the weekend does sting a little bit. Anyway,
really does.
Thank you so much for that, Jamie. Coming up after the break, we'll be cracking into our main story of the evening about when the hell we're escaping this COVID madness. You're listening to Wavelength on a Fresh 92.7.
Wavelength.
Welcome back to Wavelength with David and Jamie tonight, sparking the convos about Adelaide you should be having. So, Jamie, in the space of the time that we were on break, which was literally just 5 weeks, the world has fallen apart.
Yeah.
Sydney is in a never-ending lockdown. We've been in a lockdown ourselves for a little bit. Melbourne is like a yo-yo in and out of lockdown every week.
They can't catch a break, can they?
And of course, yes, Brisbane is also in lockdown. We didn't forget about you guys.
You up there. You up there on the top. Yeah, when the hell does this end? To find out how we got into this mess, Hamish spoke with Steve Georganas, a former MP for Hindmarsh in SA and is the current ALP member of the Australian Parliament for Adelaide. He explained the failed vaccine rollout, which is basically why we're here right now.
Wavelength, sparking the convos about Adelaide you should be having.
Steve, thanks so much for coming on the show today. Look, I just was wondering if I could pick your brain a little bit on the current COVID situation in Australia. What is actually happening right now?
I think we're dealing with the direct consequence of two failures. One being the hotel quarantine and the failure to get our vaccination rates up. Two things that we know will assist us in this pandemic, and that is we need to build the national quarantine facilities that are purposely built, and that's been the advice all along to the government, that we need purposely built quarantine facilities, not hotels. Hotels are built for tourists and for tourism. And certainly the vaccines, we're one of the last countries in the world to have our population vaccinated. You look at Europe, the USA, many places in Asia, they're actually opening up while we're closing down.
Why haven't they kind of pulled those things off as well as they should have? How has it gotten this bad?
The problem here is that the Morrison government put most of their eggs in the wrong basket. The facts are we need a broader vaccine availability. That's what they should have been concentrating on. And the Prime Minister said we were at the top of the list, but we're now one of the lowest vaccinated developed countries in the world. And it's only now that we're seeing extra distribution of those vaccines and the expansion of pharmacies being ready to provide the shot. And we're still waiting for additional Pfizer and Moderna vaccines to become available later in the year. Now, you've got to ask yourself, why wasn't all this put in place ages ago? And the thing is that we had mixed messages as well about the vaccine. So we heard it's not a race. Well, it certainly is a race. When you're dealing with a pandemic, it's a race. Basically, get the vaccines rolled out in absolutely in an emergency style, I suppose, where we can get to that point of 70-80% so we can open up and get back to some normality. Otherwise, we're being left behind by the rest of the world. We've got Europe opening up. We've got the US that's opened up, the UK, many places in Asia, and that is due to the rollout of their vaccination.
Do you think the federal government has kind of just taken a bit of a lax approach to the vaccine rollout?
I think it was complacency by the government. We should have been doing all that we can to secure vaccinations of all types that we could, as long as they were approved by the TGA. We should have spread it around a bit and ordering way back early in May last year when other countries started to put their orders in. We left it too late. We left it to the one type of vaccine. Then different mixed messaging was out there, which created uncertainty amongst the Australian population about the vaccines, and we find ourselves in the position that we're in now.
What kind of impact or an effect do you think that mixed messaging had on the public?
I've spoken to many people who say to me, I'm waiting for the Pfizer. And they say, well, why not take the AstraZeneca? It's available right now. It's there. But because of the mixed messaging, the different views out there, it caused complacency. And you can't blame the population or the public because you're hearing these messages. The reality is that AstraZeneca is as safe as anything else. In fact, you're more at risk driving around for 6 months in your motor vehicle of an accident than you are of having an adverse effect with AstraZeneca.
Yeah.
The likelihood is so low, you're more likely to win the Cross Lotto on Saturday night. So our messaging has been wrong. The campaign in terms of advertising has been non-existent. The ability to give the public a choice as well has been non-existent.
If things don't change and we kind of keep just going along at this sluggish pace that we're going at the moment, what is your forecast for, I guess, South Australia and Australia?
I'm hoping that we do get up to that 70%. The quicker we can get the population vaccinated, the quicker we'll go back to normality, the quicker we'll be able to travel, the quicker we'll be able to go about our lives as we did prior to 2020.
Wavelength.
That was Hamish speaking with Steve Georganas, the current ALP member of the Australian Parliament for Adelaide, talking about the bungled vaccine rollout. Jamie, have you had a vaccine yet?
No, I wish I had a vaccine already. Our content director, Zane, actually got one on Friday.
Oh, wow.
And I was having a conversation with him about it because I was like, oh, is it time for me to start thinking about it? Because obviously we have to wait for Pfizer for under 40.
Yeah.
Well, that's what the health officials are kind of suggesting.
Yeah.
But I think it's really important to just go to your GP and have a conversation now, because it's really important to start thinking about and weighing up our options about if we would rather take AstraZeneca or Pfizer.
Yeah.
So I really urge everyone to have a chat with your local GP because he literally went to his GP to have a conversation about it.
Yeah.
And the GP went, oh, and got on the phone and went, oh, you can actually get one today. And he left with the vaccine.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So I really think that I'm going to actually go book a chat with my GP, talk through some options, get some medical advice. I urge people to get a few different people's advice, professionals, of course.
Definitely. Yeah, no, I'd totally recommend speaking to your GP because, you can't trust everything on the internet. So if you want to get some advice, go speak to the professionals. Don't listen to us. We're not going to give you any advice about what vaccine you should get. Just get the one that your GP tells you to. And if it's available, get one. If you can get it and if it's safe for you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. There's at least a 96% chance, survival rate, or not survival rate, but like protection rate.
Yeah.
Once you get it, like it's huge. And if people are worried about things like blood clots, you know, there's a high chance of you getting a blood clot flying on an overseas flight. You know what I mean? Like there's a 1 in 1,000 chance of getting a blood clot from the contraceptive pill. So in terms of ratios, like go get the vaccine.
That was, absolutely. Thank you so much for that chat there, Hamish. Later on in the show, though, we're speaking with an epidemiologist who has a bit more of an idea than we do about how we're going to get past the Delta strain. But up next, Hamish will be letting you know all about this week's news. You're listening to Fresh 92.7.
Wavelength.
Welcome back to Wavelength. We'll be getting back into our story about this COVID hell soon. But now we're cracking into our weekly segment where Hamish explains what the hell has happened this week.
What the hell is going on this week? Wavelength on Fresh 92.7.
Hello, Fresh fam, and boy, does it feel good to be back, hanging shit on all the headlines of the week, so let's get straight to it. Well, the COVID crisis in Australia continued to spread uncontrollably across the country this week, and yada, 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 half the country's back in lockdown again. The government continues to comically fumble the vaccine rollout as Scott Morrison relented that he may have to start paying people to go and get their vaccine, tabling a $300 incentive for everyone who receives the jab, which is an oddly convenient price that seems to line up exactly with the cost of a gram of cocaine in Sydney's inner city suburbs. Hey, at least they know their audience. We had a couple of sporting stars making headlines for all the wrong reasons, always fun, with cricket legend and plastic nightmare Shane Warne testing positive, and no, not for cocaine or gonorrhea, but COVID. Former captain of the Adelaide Crows Taylor Walker was also hit for 6, copping a ban after racially vilifying an Indigenous player in the SANFL. It's reported he's now relocating to the US, so he won't be the only racist Texan in the country. Yes, it's the most exciting event of the last 5 years. No, not the Olympics, silly, the census. Survey forms started to hit letterboxes this week, but the government warned that there will be hefty fines for those who don't take it seriously. Answering Jedi in the religion section will now cost you $20,000, while answering that you're a member of the Hillsong Church will just land you on a government watch list. Something that has helped us all get past our quarantine woes, though, has been the Tokyo Olympics, which saw our incredible Aussies put in one of their best performances ever. Surprise, surprise, we did well in the pool, while America took home all the shooting events, which was odd because I thought they'd had enough of them. It was probably our most Australian output at the Games ever, as Jessica Fox won gold after repairing her canoe with a condom, and a kid named Keegs turned out to be pretty good at skateboarding. A collective groan was let out across the nation as the government announced plans for a digital vaccine passport, and the Australian public started to place bets on how exactly they'll screw this one up. Will we get another buggy, unusable app that won't work on Androids? The bookies say yes. And that's what the hell's been happening this week.
Wavelength.
Welcome back to Wavelength. So tonight, guys, we've been talking about how we got into this mess with COVID.
Yeah, it's not great right now, but we do have some hope. To give us a little glimmer, Hamish spoke with Nigel McMillan, a professor at Griffith University, where he was also the director of the Infectious Diseases and Immunology Department. He walks us through the Delta strain and gives us a bit of a roadmap out of COVID.
Wavelength, sparking the convos about Adelaide you should be having.
Nigel, thanks so much for coming on the show today. It's great to have you back again. This Delta strain, could you tell us a little bit about it? Why does it seem to be so much more infectious than normal?
Delta's really put the cat amongst the pigeons, so to say. So this is a strain that came out of India, and it's a mutant strain that became what we call a variant of concern. It's so much more infectious than the previous strains, and that's because it's mutated and it's been selected basically to be the most successful, the biggest, the strongest virus. One person can infect up to 6 to 8 other people. So now the virus is upped its game. You know, we're starting to see cracks in the system, and we have to up our game too.
Give us the situation on Sydney. What's the deal with what's going on over there? How bad is it, and where do they actually go from here?
In terms of what's going on in Sydney, they are tracking about 4 times as many cases as Victoria were last year with their big outbreak. So this thing's got away and is even more quickly replicating. Unfortunately, whatever they're doing right now is not working. They haven't really taken on those stage 4 type restrictions that Victoria used, and that was curfews, exercising only a kilometre from home, having only very essential services open. If they don't do that, we're not going to see a difference.
What does the situation in Sydney mean for the rest of us?
If we don't solve Sydney's problem, it's just going to become a problem for everyone. We all want Sydney and New South Wales to solve this issue because we're not really at a place in our vaccination rollout yet to let this thing run. Much as the UK started doing just earlier this month.
What are your thoughts on these freedom days?
The UK have about 65% or so of their adults vaccinated, something along those lines, fully vaccinated. And they dropped all restrictions, essentially, on the 19th of July. Now, I looked at the data for yesterday, in fact, for Monday. On Monday, they had 24,000 new cases of COVID-19, but they only had 24 deaths. So there is hope that if we get to that level of vaccination, we too can open up. But right now, our government has an elimination policy and no death is acceptable. And it's going to be we're going to have to talk to the community and bring them along for the ride, essentially, as to, well, what is an acceptable level of risk we are willing to accept as a population in Australia around this disease, because when we do open up, there will be cases, there will be illnesses, and there will be deaths.
How long do you think it will be before Australia can have its own sort of Freedom Day?
I think we're 4 to 6 weeks behind the original plan. So I think by the end of January 2022, about 6 months' time, we will have been able to offer the vaccine to everyone who wants it. And so it's at that stage when you start contemplating then moving to a phase where you stop following cases, you stop public health measures in terms of lockdowns, gatherings, etc., and you start opening up your borders. Look, you may be right now in a place where there's no cases and it's all pretty good. And so I'll get the vaccine when it comes, or I'm waiting for Pfizer because I don't like Astra, or whatever the case may be. But look, everyone wants the vaccine suddenly when there's a lockdown or an outbreak. Yeah. And it's not available. It's not available. And of course, our whole risk profile of Astra. Well, we've got completely solid numbers out of Sydney now. Just over 2,000 cases, 10 deaths. So that's 1 in 200 if you get COVID.
Yeah.
Well, we've put 6.5 million doses of Astra into people's arms and we've had 5 deaths. So look, if you're a betting man, go to the TAB. Which horse do you want to back?
Wavelength.
That was Hamish speaking with Professor Nigel McMillan from Griffith University about a roadmap out of COVID. A little bit of a glimmer of hope.
Just a little glimmer. That's all we need.
That's all we need right
There's
now.
a light at the end of the tunnel. That's what I always like to think.
It doesn't feel like that though. And I so want Freedom Day to come.
I know.
But
it's overwhelming, but all we can do is kind of join forces together and just respect the things that the health officials have to say and just remember that community is everything.
We'll get out of it. And also in Adelaide, I'm pretty sure we've hardly had that big of a deal. We went into lockdown twice, I think. So I
know.
Otherwise, it's pretty normal. I would like to dance though again.
I would like to dance too. Soon.
It's been 2 weeks without going to a club for me, and I'm like, I need it.
The rave monster.
Yeah.
We get it. You're a DJ.
I just truly refuse to play the club sitting down. It is so boring.
What's the point though? But also without dancing, a club kind of seems like hell to me. Why would I choose to sit down in a dark, dirty basement that's kind of moist and listen to techno, but not be able to dance? Clubs are always kind of moist. They're wet, They're
sweaty.
They're sweaty.
No, it's not. It's not ideal. It's not ideal. Anyway, we've still got plenty of wavelength left for you guys tonight, though. So stay tuned. You're listening to Fresh.
Wavelength.
Welcome back to Wavelength, sparking the convos about Adelaide you should be having.
So up next, we've got our favourite weekly segment called Heaps Good News, and this week Amila's got the goods for us.
I know there's gonna be
Heaps Good News on Wavelength.
Although Tokyo 2020 has just wrapped up, we have plenty to smile about after taking home a total of 46 medals. 22 are coloured bronze, 7 sparkle silver, and 17 of the medals we have won are gold. And even better, the medals have been made from entirely recycled metal, crafted from electronic waste donated from Japanese citizens. In SA, a new national park is being planned near Victor Harbour, with a previous dairy farm owned by SA Water to be turned into a 432-hectare hiking haven with trails and facilities. The government will pump $3 million into the Hindmarsh Valley project, which is set to open next year. And while the COVID pandemic has caused a lot of issues for tourism, the 40% decline in ship traffic at Glacier Bay International in Alaska has seen wildlife behaviour change. Humpback whales are now spreading out across the bay, with mothers being able to leave their calves to play while swimming out to feed. Some whales have even been observed taking naps, and their songs have become more varied. In keeping our focus on the environment, Thailand has followed the footsteps of Hawaii and Palau and banned the use of sunscreens containing chemicals that damage coral from all its marine national parks. The Thai Department of Conservation has said that 4 ingredients typically found in sunscreen are shown to destroy coral larvae and obstruct coral reproduction. Anyone breaching the ban can be fined up to $4,000 Australian dollars. Meanwhile, the United States is returning more than 17,000 ancient artifacts that were looted and smuggled out of Iraq after the 2003 invasion. Tens of thousands of antiquities vanished from the country, with US authorities now reaching an agreement with Baghdad to return items seized from dealers and museums in the United States. And that's all for this week's Heaps Good News.
Wavelength.
Thank you so much for that, Amilo. That brings us to the end of the show tonight, though. Thank you guys for listening. It's been a while since our last show. And
I know, it's been fun. We've gone a bit rogue this one, and you know what? No, nothing can hold us back.
Just quickly, did you catch the closing ceremony of the Olympics?
I did. I've really enjoyed watching the Olympics.
Loved it.
There was so much camaraderie between the athletes this year, and it was really inspiring and really, really beautiful. Everyone supporting each other, everyone clapping. I think it was really important to have that in the face of like the world right now, and
yeah, it was uplifting, that's for sure.
It was really uplifting, and I think that we needed it as a like world.
I've watched so many random sports that I don't care about, but I did love the skateboarding and the BMX. That was sick.
Oh my God, it was so sick. The pole vault is my favourite by far.
Some of these, like, you spend your whole life like training to throw a large metal ball.
Literally, imagine training your entire life for the hurdles. Like, imagine literally,
it's sort of absurd, but like it's impressive. I'm not going to say it's not.
It's absurd, but it's so impressive. Also, can we just talk about the fact that every single Olympian is like stunning?
I know.
It's literally like the hottest superhumans of the world. It's like the Hunger Games, but they're just fast.
It's so unfair.
I'd like to see like an average person thrown into every race just so we can see how fit everyone
just like
is.
By comparison.
Because like if everyone in the race is really fit, you don't think that they're that fast. But if you just saw like me trying to do like 100-meter sprint next to Usain Bolt, like I think you'd really be impressed by his, like if he went before.
Oh, it'd be way more impressive, that's for sure. Like, I have 0 lung capacity these days, so me trying to like run like 10 meters is probably too much.
I don't think I could throw a shot put more than 3 meters. So
I can't even like lift up my bag most days.
I can't even get off the chair sometimes. Anyway, make sure you subscribe to the Wavelength podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and anywhere else you get your podcasts. You can listen back to our old episodes right now, and you'll be the first to know when this week's episode goes up.
That's right. Thanks for joining me this week, Jamie. We'll see you guys next Monday. You're listening to Fresh.
Wavelength, Monday nights from 6 on Fresh 92.7.
Hi, Jeremy Cordeaux in the Court of Public Opinion. I'm just on air here to let you know that we'll be live streaming the Court of Public Opinion every Friday between 9 o'clock and 12 on jeremycordeaux.com. Please join us. We'd love to have you.